Pretty good. Feel better anyway coming out of the Wisconsin game in terms of not just getting the win, but more about how we went about it, how we were diligent in our game plan. I thought it was the fewest mistakes scouting wise. I thought it was the fewest obvious turnovers, and then. The offensive side of things, we played with a purpose, and it was nice to see the ball go in. It was nice to have execution. I thought our role definition for our players was a little more defined, and I thought we got great play from all of our freshmen. I thought Sincere did an incredible job of just literally kind of wearing Chucky down a little bit with his pressure, and then I thought we did a nice enough job on taking away easy baskets from them, not giving them. We gave them a couple early off mistakes, but that was a key. Now it's on to Nebraska, who is off to a great start. Derek Walker has been one of the big surprises in Big Ten play at this point. Griesel is a transfer who is unique, 6'7" point guard. They are probably the epitome of what I call bully ball. Just get you to a spot and with Walker and him and just back you in to the front of the rim. And they've been very, very efficient with that. Defensively, this team's playing very hard. They've got great size, great length. They are a team that definitely has an identity on that end of the court. We call them low holds, with their low holds and their rotations, and they're always going to trap you in the post. So they're very definitive in what they do on that end. You've got to have some ball toughness and be able to execute, and on the other end, you've got to fight them. You got to make things hard. So great atmosphere, great environment. Pinnacle Bank's one of the great arenas in college basketball, and Fred has done a great job this year, and their fans always support.
Seems like a bigger opportunity now for Sincere and Jaden, kind of with their role. What kind of conversations have you had with them to make sure they're kind of in that moment there?
Yeah, it's we've always encouraged them to step up, and now they've got maybe a less cloudy perspective in terms of they're going to play. They're going to get a lot of minutes, and so it's Sky's minutes have been obviously swallowed by those two and RJ, and I think there's some freedom and confidence that may come from that.
When you see Sincere have a game like you did against Northwestern, what's the conversations like with him after that to turn it around to the point where he does as well as he did, especially on the defensive end on Saturday?
Yeah, it's a great thing about Sincere is that was probably like talking to my kids in one ear and out the other, and he forgot it that quickly. But you got to learn, and I think that we've had a lot of talks with him about finding that aggressiveness without fouling. He committed one really bad one the other night in a late game situation, just being overly aggressive, and he's got to learn to control that. But we sure don't want to temper his enthusiastic approach to the defensive side.
Nice. Jaden, how is he someone who's able to kind of get downhill and get into the defense so well?
A great feel. He's got great pace. His instincts are God-given. I mean, he's got those just a knack for scoring. He's a very downhill type player. He loves seeing the rim, and he's good. I think he's figuring out getting much better at understanding where his finishes come from, the different hands that he's got to use, the 2-foot jump stop. Before as a freshman, he could just go in there and pretty much have his way. And he's figuring all that stuff out. But yeah, he's very gifted at finding the paint.
Coach, what's the keys of the game for your team tomorrow night?
Well, we can't do what we did last year, which was get annihilated early in transition. They're a team that you can't lose sight that they have two terrific three-point shooters. Last year, they run at home at packed house. It's one of the loudest buildings in the league. They get behind you, and that team thrives on that. So we've got to do that. Gary is a guy who concerns me a lot. He's a very, very good offensive rebounder. He's getting 3 a game. You can't give him easy points. So we got to do a solid job on him. And then you've got to guard their bully ball. You've got to challenge it. And you've got to do that without fouling. So we've got to go and find that way to guard without putting them on the line.
Seemed like, especially in the first half against Wisconsin, Dane had 2 points, but it felt like he had a much bigger impact out there.
It's maturity. That's growing up. This is going to be another one of those games. He's going to get doubled every time he touches it, and you're going to be doubled even before you touch it. But yet the discipline of doing your job every single time that creates that for other players. And Dane's starting to understand that. He's his roles, his rim runs. He put 5 fouls on, and he's an elite runner. He's getting in elite shape. So we can utilize him in those areas, and that impacts the game. So he had a couple careless turnovers, which we've got to get cleaned up. But Dane's starting to mature and understand that, hey, if I don't get it here, let me seal here. But I've got to get to my positions, and I've got to set screens. He's very, very good at setting screens. So he's maturing into understanding how to play the position.
And how's he growing in defense?
One of the best in the league. Mm-hmm. He truly is. I mean, I think he was leading the league in block shots. I don't know if he still is. He's very close to it. He's got great length. He's got extremely quick hands. His steal totals are very, very high. And then he's a guy that, in his ball screen coverages, can move his feet. And so he's been growing, getting better every game.
Similar to Kofi, where are you asking him to call out defense from
Yes.
what he's seeing?
Yes. We've simplified a little bit, but he's got great instincts. He does a very, very good job of playing with his hands up. That was a challenge we had with Kofi. Kofi always wanted to play with his hands down, but he gets his hands out and up, and that length, that 7'4" wingspan kicks in.
To that point, are you seeing numbers-wise that Jaden's on the defensive end is getting better? You're not switching as much as you were early in the year, and he's fighting over the top of screens?
Yeah, we're getting better in all those areas. And again, it's very hard. It's not easy it's not easy playing at this level as a freshman. It's very hard to play on the ball as a freshman. And you've got to just not worry about guarding the ball, but you've got to listen and know that a lot of times you're going to get screened, and you have to react to that call. So it's a process, processing the call. It's learning that, and both those guys are and really all of our guys are getting much better at it.
With the sincere starting moves, what have you seen from him as a primary ball handler, facilitator?
He's been great. He's doing a solid job. He got a great layup to start the game and just smoked it. But he's got great instincts. He's got a great feel, great savvy. So he's been very good.
He seems like a kid that literally doesn't care if he scores points. How do you get that at this young?
Oh, it's unique. I mean, to impact winning, that's what Sincere does. He doesn't care if he scores a point, doesn't care if he shoots ball. He is truly dialed into the important things of winning. He's been a guy that tremendous maturity. He's been extremely well coached. He's been pushed really hard. His dad is was demanding of him in terms of the conditioning and the intent to help win, and you know, he's found his way to the floor, not because of his offense, but because of his defense, and that's very unique today.
Something you sensed when you were recruiting him?
Oh, no doubt. We all see his athleticism and his, you know, he's very twitchy. He's can play above the rim, but you know, his ability to slide his feet and his length on the ball, along with that grit and competitiveness. I mean, I was so impressed with his competitiveness the first time I saw him. It was a guy I was just drawn to.
Seems like Ty is incrementally kind of getting there this season. What's been his process for this adjustment to college?
Yeah, Ty's never wavered 1 second on his ability to work hard, and you know, and he's done that every day. He spends more time in the gym maybe than anybody, and there's great. He has great reflection on and the ability to self-evaluate. He's growing. He's a guy that I've been a little bit unfair to from playing in multiple positions, and asking a freshman to do that is not easy. You know, he's can be a backup point guard, you know, role. He can be a power forward because he can guard with his strength and his size. You know, I've said it, he's one of our best rebounders, if not our best. And we need that on the court. And I was really glad to see him, one, shoot the corner three the other night. Secondly, I was, you know, he had a couple just go in and out off great plays. So, yeah, we're going to need him, there's no doubt.
Are you continually getting updates on Luke, or do you get a sense of where that's headed here in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I get day to day. I mean, he's, I asked him yesterday, I said how he felt his conditioning was. He feels like he's in great shape. That doesn't mean he's in basketball shape. But he's got an appointment this week, later in the week, and we'll see if that puts him in a position to start back to practice. And, you know, I hope that's the case. He's worked awfully hard. He said he's pain-free. And, you know, it'd be a nice shot in the arm to see him back in practice gear joining our group.
Did Saturday reaffirm making the right switch offensively for you as you kind of evaluated, and how tough was it to pivot like that?
Probably too early to tell. I knew we weren't going to win turning the ball over like we were turning it over. You're not going to win a Big Ten game doing that. And there's a little more structure to this. I think it's an opportunity to do what we did with Coleman. Coleman's an elite shooter. He's a high-level shooter. Get him shots where we know they're coming from. Get Terrence in his spots. Create opportunities for Matt. And be a little more controlled in doing that. But the big thing's the turnovers. We'll see if that remedies some of those, but you can't go into league play, turn it over 15, 16, 17 times and lose that many opportunities to score. And that just puts too much pressure on your defense.
In Nebraska's big wins, they held Creighton in the 50s, Iowa in the 50s, Purdue, the overtime game, Purdue was in the 60s. Anything that translated for them across those games, success against good offensive teams?
Yeah, Creighton got a lot of really good shots and didn't go in. Again, the one thing that this Nebraska team does, they give up a ton of jump shots. I think they're number one in all of college basketball, I think at any level in jump shots given up. They're going to force you to shoot jump shots. And, you know, they're not going to give you paint touches and points in the paint with post-ups. They don't do that at a high clip. So you've got to make those shots. And again, they're not playing as fast. They're very opportunistic in transition, but again, their possessions are a lot longer possessions, so the possessions of a game come down.
Where's Zach at his development just in a month or so that he's been here?
Getting better every day. His biggest thing is you know, he thought he was in good shape, and he found out real quick he's got to get in better shape. But he keeps adding strength, he keeps adding familiarity. You know, Fletch is spending a ton of extra time with him in terms of the extra little bit of conditioning. He's playing one-on-one every day after practice. He's doing individual workouts every day along with practice, so he's gaining on it. And again, we want to put him in situations to be successful, not go out there and be unsettled because you're uncomfortable with what we're doing.
One thing Terrence talked about after the game was kind of how the team kind of come together over the last couple days after the Northwestern game. What was kind of your finish on that? Did you notice anything different?
Sure. You know, I think that there's a point in every season where sometimes just they have to figure things out. You know, it's not, you know, we can talk about it a lot, but at some point, you know, those guys have to, okay, this wasn't good. This wasn't the way we do it. This isn't how we do it. You know, you know, I still say the Northwestern game, we played good enough to win the game. We just didn't play very smart. And it's an accountability thing, and those guys have stepped up and shown leadership and become accountable to all that. So it's really positive.
The hard-hitting question here: the sport coats, they're here to stay.
Sure. I got a closet full of them. That suits. I like the sneaker thing with them. It's great on my feet. Yeah, you know what? I think there's a certain respect of the game I have, and every coach I've, you know, ever had has, you know, hugs got away from him at the end, but, you know, but has always worn them. And to me, it's just kind of the right thing to do. It was the COVID thing. We kind of lived it, and to me, it's just, you know. Plus, I want to wear a sport coat and a suit every now and then when you got a couple of them. So, yeah, why not?
And your staff wholeheartedly embraced it, right?
Yeah, other than Jeff. Jeff was, well, when you lose 80 pounds like he's lost, you know, you just can't jump into a suit, but without getting some alterations done. But it was pretty quick notice. But no, they're all in. So
Just
Saturday, you mentioned everybody in the Big Ten is taking the loss. Do you use the Big Ten standings as a motivator? Like,
not yet.
you guys get back in the hunt?
Not yet. I watch yesterday's games or see the scores, and it's just, this league's crazy. This league's so good, and you know, you just can't afford to take any night off. You pray that you stay healthy. You know, you look at what Iowa's done. They lose Patrick McCaffrey, one of their leading scorers, and they beat Indiana at home and go on the road and win at Rutgers. And you know, and that's worked the other way. Sometimes you lose a player like Race, and you know, things go the other way. And so it's just nuts. And the league's so good, the scouting's so good. You know, you better perform every night, or you get beat.
Since here's